like to start my talks out when people haven't seen this video first and they don't know what I did for the last 21 years by saying I've probably hugged at least half of you in the room. It's kind of the creepiest way to start any talk ever. And then I let them know what I did. But what self-respecting mascot would come out here and not start with a prize? Don't worry, I'm a trained professional. And you're going to have to make some noise on this side of the room. We've got a couple more down the center here. You guys are scared. Now here's the good thing. If you can get one of these right now, they're in the back of the room. They're all free. Everything in the back of the room on my table is free except the books from Memorial Park. So, usually we end with Q&A, but mascots are kind of goofy and they start things opposite. We'll do some Q&A at the end, but I have some answers for you to start with. Every time I give a talk, I get the same questions over and over and over and over. Anytime I meet people in public, at a bar, at a restaurant, same questions. It's a goofy job. There's only about 125 full-time mascots in the country. So I thought I'd get some of the questions that might be lingering in your mind out of the way real quick. I've condensed them into short questions with one-word answers. Is it hot in there?
Yeah.
Yes. Is it hard not to talk? No. Do you sweat a lot? Yes. Can I have some free tickets? No. Do you have a fan or ice pack in there? No. How does someone get into that line of work? College. Have you ever grown up in costume? Yes. Okay, I just wanted to tell you guys that one myself. 8, how do you see? Eyes. 9, how do you pee? Penis. 10, are you a girl or a boy in there? Penis. Now that we got that out of the way, and boy, I'm on a college campus and I'm a college administrator, and I was a little nervous about telling you those jokes there, to tell you the honest truth. I have 3 goals today. 1, to entertain you. 2, to hopefully inspire you. And 3, I want you to get a little bit more comfortable taking smart risks, because that's how I built my career as Clutch in 21 years. So let's see if I can get this clicker to work. Doesn't look like a computer. All right, first thing I want to talk to you about is self-imposed limitations for your vocation. There's a lot of people in this room, and you're not all doing the same thing. You're not all studying the same thing. I went to college to be an accountant. I excelled at it in high school. I did well in college, but then at the end of my freshman year, I was asked to try out for the mascot by a bunch of cheerleaders that I met in the dorm party the night before. And I went out, and they didn't really like the mascot they had then, so they were ready to put any warm body into that costume that tried out. And I just so happened to be the guy that raised his hand and said, I'll do it. Tried out against one other guy that they hated, so I got the job. I started the character Udi, the University of Delaware Blue Hen, back in 1993. I got extremely lucky that I fell into a profession as a side thing in college, right when they were rebranding the entire university around this new image of what a blue hen looked like, and this character was going to be it. So I got to see a rebrand at a 19-year-old level. I switched my major to marketing. I started doing 250 appearances a year, traveling with the football and basketball team all over the country. They put me on a partial scholarship, and then I got to try out with the Houston Rockets in 1995, 3 months after they won their second championship in a row. So if you're keeping score, I'm the jinx. All right? They won 3 months before I got here. They haven't won again since. I took that job not knowing a soul in Texas. All of my family, large family on both sides, 6 brothers and sisters on one side, 7 on the other, all in the Philadelphia area. Came down here, didn't have a friend in the world, didn't know anybody. Took the job in September of my senior year, so I hadn't finished college. And you might think, oh my gosh, what did your parents think? I had a 3.4 GPA, I was a good student, I was in a fraternity, on the radio station, everything. What did your administrators think? Believe it or not, both my parents and the president of the university said, you gotta go take that job. There's only so many of these jobs in the entire country. Every time one opens up, 100 people send in resumes and videotapes. You got the offer, go. If it doesn't work out, come back to Delaware next year, finish your degree. If it does work out, go to the University of Houston, and as long as you get all A's, we'll take your course credits and you can graduate Delaware. It was really important for me to graduate Delaware. Normally, they make you take your last 30 credits at the place that is accrediting you. But I guess when you created a new character with the president, and he can kind of do whatever he wants, that's what happened. So we started Clutch in 1995. I got paid $20,000. Money was tight. The average University of Delaware marketing major, I was a marketing and management double major with a philosophy minor. Don't ever get a philosophy minor. It'll just make you go crazy the rest of your life. I like to say that psychology is the pursuit of sanity, while philosophy is the pursuit of insanity. Anyway, I came down here, I finished my degree, I graduated at the University of Delaware in '97, and then this job turned into not just a job, not just a career, but a calling for me. In 21 years, I toured and performed in 12 different countries, including China 10 different times. I did over 2,100 school shows, seeing 1.25 million Houston area students. I went to a school show, I guess about 5 years ago. A teacher came up to me from the 4th grade teacher and said, you know, that show was great. It was even better the second time. And I said, oh, did you see the show last year or at another school? Did you transfer? She said, no, I saw it when I was in 2nd grade. And I said, thanks, get the hell out of here. And that's about when I decided it was time for me to try something else. And things like that were happening. And the grays were coming in. Plus, I have 2 sets of twins. So God blessed me with 2 sets of twins. I have 10-year-old identical twin boys, Jack and Luke, who are in the 5th grade, and I have 3-year-old fraternal twin girls, Brooklyn and Bailey. So a job change was in need because nights and weekend work are kind of tough. I was always home, lounging around while they were at school, and then I was working nights and weekends for games and appearances that usually happen when you all are not working, when you all are celebrating. So that job change happened in 2016. When I say self-imposed limitations for your vocation, I'm going to break it down for you. You know, when you go to school and you give career day advice or whatever, the first kid always asks, how much money do you make? I'm going to tell you how much money I made. I made $20,000. And I was pissed. I thought that was bad money. I was scraping by. I had no savings account. I had $6 left in my checking account every week. I was living with an intern for the Rocket that got paid $0, and she was a college graduate. She had to work nights at a bar just to help us share the rent, and I thought I was being woefully underpaid. I took that job to $300,000 a year for the last 10 years of my career. And I did that through believing in myself, through working really hard and taking smart risk time and time again, and it was not easy. It was certainly not popular with management, but when they saw the results, they kind of become undeniable. So, I also believed in a philosophy of marketing over sales. Sales is closing the deal, but in my mind, very clearly, would you rather knock on 100 doors trying to convince 100 people you have what they want, or have 100 people knocking on your door asking for what you have? How I applied that to my career was creating the most quality sketches, both video shorts and live skits on court as possible, so that they got guffaws, so that when I had the chance to be in front of 18,500 Houstonians 50 nights a year, it was so funny that they were walking out of the building laughing whether we won or lost. In our department, game operations, and we still feel this way at the University of Houston, where I produce the football games and the basketball games, our litmus test is if you walk out of Fertitta Center or out of TDECU Stadium, and I can't tell on your face whether we've won or lost, the people in my department did their job. We made sure that you had a good time either way. And that's what I focused on. And then I also found out, what do my clients need? What do they want? We started doing school shows. We had to charge something because there was a lot of cost involved. And also then demand became a problem. There are 850 elementary schools within 75 miles of where we're sitting right now. We started charging $150 a school show. The teachers loved it and we couldn't fulfill the demand. We ended up charging $1,000 a school show and we still couldn't meet the demand because we had other appearances for the games. We did that by focusing in, sitting down with principals, asking them, what do you need? And they could say, listen, we don't want you to just come out and entertain our kids. That's an expensive recess. And we don't want you to just get up there and have messages on flashcards and have your assistant talk and everything and bore them to death. We need something called edutainment. So we refined it over the years to the point where we would have 1,000 kindergarten through 5th graders in the same room, captivated for 60 straight minutes. And that was a challenge at first, but we got really, really good at it. That's pretty salacious right there. Here's what I mean by that. The biggest common denominator in the world and in entertainment is sex and violence. Now, there's nuances in how we did this and how you do this. I'm going to give you a great example of sex. I have twin boys. Okay? They're identical twin boys and they're young. I use them in a lot of my sketches. So we have Santa Clutch come out and sit down at mid-court. He sits down, and the first little kid runs out. It's like the typical mall situation where you're going to come out and you're going to take pictures and you're going to whisper into Santa's ear what you want, and then you're on your way. Same deal. Parents there to take the picture. First little kid comes out. It's a little boy, whispers into his ear, take the picture. Out of the big bag, we pull a Tonka truck. Give him the Tonka truck. He runs off happy. Next little girl sits on Santa's lap, whispers into his ear what she wants, reaches into the bag, pulls out a big Barbie doll. Off she goes happy. Third little boy, one of my sons, sits on my lap, whispers into my ear, and Clutch goes like that. What did you just say to me? And he's like, Mom. All right. Goes over to this big bag, unzips it, and out pops a power dancer. One of the dancers for the team. He shakes his head no and goes, 2. And a second one pops out. The crowd roars. We didn't get one complaint. Obviously, that's hitting people on different levels, okay? It's like Pixar entertainment. It's all these animated movies that we as parents can watch with our kids and be just as entertained with them as they are because the jokes are hitting them on different levels. So that was always the goal. And a lot of those concepts revolved around that. When Tracy McGrady pulls out a giant pink thong that's frozen in his freezer because Clutch was supposed to be house sitting for you, we as parents know what a thong is and what it's meant to do. Kids just see teeny pink underwear that Clutch is a male teddy bear and he wears. So that's what I talk about, the nuance and taking smart risks to make sure that we're making it interesting entertainment. Because our average demographic that is the ticket buyer is a 35 to 55-year-old male. So yes, we've got to make it family friendly, but we also have to make that person laugh or it's just cute, bland, vanilla, boring, and deaf. So what I would encourage you to do is to take smart risks. Because if you don't take any risk at all, that's the riskiest thing that you can do in the long run. Take no risk at all in the short run, and that's the riskiest thing that you can do in the long run because you will make yourself irrelevant, uninteresting, and your competitors will pass you by in any industry. A quick example about violence. My little boys again, they're twins. I started them in mixed martial arts, jiu-jitsu, when they were only 3 and a half. I then brought them to karate for a year when they were 5. And then they finished it out in Taekwondo, got their black belts just last year when they were 9 years old. I used to bring them out on the court. And this idea occurred to me the night that Batman versus Superman debuted. Y'all remember that movie? Batman versus Superman. This was going to be the biggest and the best thing in the superhero world ever. And you couldn't believe they were going to fight. And we had a game that very night. It was a Friday night. The movie premiered that Friday night. And I said, I know what I'm going to do. My boys spar twice a week. And they go and they spar. They have the headgear, they have the chest gear, the foot gear, everything. And it's what they do. It's part of the training. It's part of how you advance belts. So I'm going to bring them out to midcourt. I'm going to put down the mat. I'm going to put a Batman outfit over one of them. I'm going to put a Superman outfit over the other one. And I'm going to say, I'm going to be the ref. And I'm going to say, we're going to settle this battle once and for all right now. Since you're here and not out watching the movie, this is a 60-second sparring match. Don't worry, these are trained professionals and they study, just to allay all the people out there like, violence, they're teaching them. No, these are trained professionals. And boom. And their mom is really short. She's like 5 foot. So the boys are really short. And to the eye, they were 7 at the time. To your eye, they would have looked 4 years old. So you would have thought they were going to come out and just kind of do this or that. But they wail on each other. And they're twins, so they're equally matched. And their dad was clutch, and they've been in skits since they were 9 months old doing baby races on the court. So there is no fear or no stage fright. And it's just like, boom, this place blows up. It turns into the WWE. People are going nuts. Fox 26 put it on. It got like 3.2 million views just in 24 hours. And it was one of the best sketches that we ever did. And if you look at it, you could say it was violence. I like to say it was slapstick. I like to think that all those old style cartoons and Three Stooges isn't violence, it's slapstick. Here's something that we did that is sticky marketing. One of those, the second thing on that first list was how to create sticky marketing. Both of those concepts I just told you were very sticky marketing. They went viral. They stuck in people's heads. They left the game talking about that and not the three-point shot that won the game. This was something that we did at U of H this past year that had only been done by one other sports team. The Minnesota Vikings did it because 3M is a 7-figure sponsor and is in their area, their region of the country. But we saw it and we knocked it off. And we were the second team in the country to do it. But basically, we had these in all 7,000 seats at Fertitta Center, and it's a piece of sticky film. So in this case, it's sticky marketing. Double entendre there. And you take the film off and you put it on the back of your flashlights, and during intros, when the lights go out, everybody holds up their phone and turns their flashlight on, and you see 7,000 red flashlights. Everybody has a phone, they can turn it into this red flashlight, and it was something that really got talked about, and it was demanded for the rest of the season, and we did it every game the rest of the season. We did it on College Game Day in the morning when it came to Houston for ESPN. It was the first time they ever came to Houston, and it went over big, and we have plans to do it at every basketball game this year as well, and it got talked a lot about. So not everything has to be edgy and salacious to be sticky marketing. All right, a few stories about my time as clutch, and the best that I did, but the worst that I did as well. We talked about the vocational limits. One of the worst things that happened was I shot Cuttino Mobley in the chest with a t-shirt gun that was about 5 times more powerful than that. The tanks were on my back. I'm out on the court, and I'm ready to shoot it up. We could only shoot this gun into the second level because it was so powerful. We called it the BFG. I'll let you guys figure that out on your own. And so I'm out there about to shoot this, and one of the dancers, it was so powerful, we had to have the dancers on the court throwing to the first level because it was like, wait a minute, your highest paying clients are on the downstairs. They're getting no t-shirts because this gun's so powerful, you're only shooting it upstairs. So I'm about to shoot it. One of the dancers is running this way, but looking that way, and bangs right into the back of me, knocks me on my knees, sets the gun off. I don't see what happens because I'm in this stupid bear costume with a painted on grin, and hits Cuttino Mobley right in the chest while Rudy T is sitting there telling him what we're going to do on the next play. Drops him like a sack of bricks, and he's out of the game. Next thing, I jump back up, not knowing where the t-shirt went, and I just start shooting more shirts. Yep, just knocked out our starting point guard. Awesome. 10 minutes? Gotcha. We did a lot of school shows I told you about. I'm very proud of those. We came out with 7 storybooks. We have over 500,000 storybooks that we've given away for free at those 2,100 school shows. I'll talk to you about this last thing in a minute. Punched in the face by a billionaire. You're going to see the air clutch costume. Mark Cuban came up to me when we were playing the Dallas Mavericks, and I bopped him on the head, and these air costumes are just a bunch of dead space in there. And he thought he was playing around back with me, and he punches it right in the chest. Well, the chest of the costume, these things are 10 feet tall, the chest of the costume is my face. And as I bopped him, the costume recoils like this, and he connects right here, and boom, I see stars, blood shoots out, my 2 front teeth were loosened. I thought, man, I could cash in right now. Ruined an MLK Day parade. This was one of the worst moments of my career. I literally can only laugh about it now because at the time I was crying. We used to do the MLK Day parade right down by Toyota Center, and we used to have streamer cannons that we'd shoot out, throw t-shirts out, all kinds of stuff throughout the parade. And we would save the good stuff for right in front of the big stage where the grandstands were, the TV cameras, the DJ, the band, the MC, all the big stuff. My assistant, Dominic, who was with me 17 years, thought it would be a good idea to use the really good streamers, not the paper streamers, but the Mylar ones that shimmered and looked like fireworks. So he hands me one of those, I shoot it off. About 2 seconds later, we hear a big boom! And it scared me. My first thought was, oh my gosh, the neo-Nazis or the racists are attacking me. And then that thought went out, because I'm looking at the sidelines and nobody's like running, and I'm like, hey man, because I'm sitting on the front of the hood of the van, was that us? And he's like, I think so, man. They're metal. They went up in the air, the wind took them, they blew into the power lines, hit one of the transformers and blew it, including 4 city blocks of power, including the MC, the TV cameras, the stage, the band, everything. Oh my gosh, it was bad. So, we got invited back next year. Everybody knew Clutch isn't a racist, this was an accident, and we just never brought any streamers back to that. Humped by Jack Nicholson. My first year, I go out, Jack Nicholson's going to be at the game, he's sitting next to our owner, he's sitting right there, courtside. I think, okay, what do? Sunglasses at Night by Corey Hart. I come out with a big pair of sunglasses. Oh my gosh, it's Jack Nicholson. I get down, I do the I'm not worthy thing from Wayne's World. I turn around, and Clutch had a 92-inch waist. I shake my butt in his face like that, and then I go to sit on his lap. Well, when I sit on somebody's lap in costume, I don't really sit on their lap, I just squat. So it looks like I'm doing that. And the whole crowd blows up with laughter. The cameraman's right there, and I'm like, I wonder what that's about. This is funny, but it's not that funny. Well, it turns out, when I get in the back, my assistants all told me, you don't know, man, when you were squatting on his lap, he stuck his right arm around you, looked at the owner, and went, and 16,000 people are laughing at me. Joke's on me. I'm going to skip this for now since we're short on time. Through all of this, a calling came to me. In 2012, my dad was suffering of idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. It is an unknown scarring of the lungs with no known cause, no known cure, and it is terminal, and there's really no treatment of it except for a lung transplant, which my dad received in 2012, and it saved his life. And if I can get you guys to do one thing today, it is to register to be an organ donor. Because when my dad was in the hospital getting these new lungs from a fellow named Ian Heidemann, who was a 22-year-old boy who passed away in Dallas in a car accident, I was in the hospital and I saw a life gift table and I said, what is this? What do you guys do? I'm the mascot for the Rockets. I'll do whatever you need. I'll raise money. I'll give you money. I'll speak. And they said, are you an organ donor? I said, oh, of course. I remember doing it when I was 16. Pulled it, and they said, can we see your license? I pulled out my license, and I didn't have the heart. So there's a lot of reasons that has happened. Some of it was some Texas bureaucracy when you would check, yes, make me an organ donor at the DMV back in 2008 and beforehand, but if you also check, don't share my information with other agencies, and you thought that just meant junk mail, guess what? It negated the fact that you were an organ donor. So there's a lot of reasons. It takes you 60 seconds to go online at donatelifetexas.org. this is one of the things that we did to try to help the cause. We created a black screen that doesn't play. That's what we did.
Today is a special day. It's the second consecutive year that I've run the Houston Half Marathon in full costume as Clutch for organ donation awareness. My father's life was saved by an organ donor on February 15th, 2012 that saved his life. He was suffering from idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, which is a non-lifestyle related lung disease, a hardening of the lungs. And it was compounded by a case of pneumonia, and I had rushed into the hospital on February 2nd, 2012. The doctors basically said he has about 3 months to live if he doesn't get a transplant. And a week later, he was on the transplant list, and a week later after that, he got the transplant that saved his life. So that's what today's about. Today's about creating the biggest spectacle in a fun, silly, goofy way with a 6'8", 92-inch waist teddy bear that's going to run 13.1 miles, and he's going to stand out in the crowd, and people are going to turn their heads and go, what? This is ridiculous. This is amazing. This is silly. And then when they do turn their heads, they're going to see the band across my forehead that has DonateLifeTexas.org on it, and they're going to see the message on my t-shirt, the 6XL that it is, along with the rest of my team that's running with me. It says Team Clutch. I run for organ donation awareness. DonateLifeTexas.org. Become an organ donor today. Today is one piece of my quest to try to convince as many people in our country to say yes to organ donation as possible. There's 120,000 people on the transplant waiting list. 18 people die every single day in our country that otherwise would have been saved if there was enough available organs and people registered to be organ donors. It's something that everybody can participate in. It's something that everybody might benefit at one point in their life. And it only takes about 60 seconds to go online and sign up. Most of people, it's just an awareness issue, and it's about taking the time to do it. Every major world religion supports organ donation, and we're going to make a difference.
So with that, I thank you for letting me come out here today to speak to you about my own story and also share that. And I'll open it up to questions. Do we have time for questions?
Of course, yes. Give it up for Robert one more time. That's how you kill somebody. I wasn't ready for that. Before we open it up to questions, if you do have a question, please raise your hand. We have some mic runners around the room. As those microphones come over to you, I want to present you with an honorary membership to the NSLS.
Thank you. I won't shoot this one out.
Please, that's for you. That is for you. No injuries, okay? Safety first, people. But yes, we would like to open up to questions. I see a hand here. Does anybody already have a microphone? No, then you're our first question. What is your name and what school are you from?
I'm Ken Lama from the University of California, Irvine.
Awesome. All right, what is your question?
What first got you connected to NSLS?
What first got me?
Yeah, connected to NSLS.
I was asked to speak by somebody that's in the group, Dr. Lindsay Pena. She was finishing her doctorate degree, and she's a member of the group, and they were looking for speakers. She's a personal friend, and she had interviewed me about my nonprofit service. That was part of her dissertation, and she asked me to speak.
So like they're interested in like people doing like public service?
I'm sorry, sir?
So they're interested in people doing public service?
Yeah, she was doing her dissertation specifically on the use of social media by nonprofit boards. and I've served on 9 different nonprofit boards. I currently serve on 4. So she interviewed me. It was about an hour interview as part of her dissertation, and then she asked me to speak at this event because she's a member of the group, and they opened it up to the group. Go Anteaters, by the way.
We have a question over here. And then, oh, you have a microphone? All right, we'll start here. What is your name and what school are you representing?
Hi, my name is Essence Means. I am representing McNeese State University. My question to you is, how did networking with being Clutch improve your business as a whole?
Oh, man. I did 6,000 different appearances as Clutch all over the city. The country. There's barely a state I haven't been to, and you just get to meet so many different people, event organizers, presidents and leaders of those individual companies that are putting on the events. I think it teaches you how to think on your feet really well. One of my favorite authors is Malcolm Gladwell, and he wrote a whole book called Blink about the very concept of reacting in the moment and making split-second decisions, and how the human mind is the biggest supercomputer on earth, and it takes all your experiences and gives you what a good gut is. And as a mascot, I think that helped train me. Is this somebody I can mess with or not? Is this somebody making eye contact with me or not? Is this somebody I should avoid or I'm going to get a complaint from? So it was the networking, and it was also the interpersonal skills of how to be funny, witty, and appropriate in the moment.
Any question? And we have one more here. Name and school.
Hi, my name is Beverly Hunter. I am from the University of Central Florida. My question on your first slide, I believe it was, you had on there servant leadership. Would you mind explaining or just expounding how you define servant leadership?
Servant leadership for me, to be completely candid, I am not the most religious person, so I don't go to church. I'm not an atheist, but I'm not necessarily that spiritual. And I got to a point in my career back in about 2006 where I felt like things are going pretty good for me. And then it kind of hit me, oh, it wasn't my own doing. You know, you kind of, when you're younger, attribute how hard you're working through school to get straight A's and how hard you're working at your first job. And then it hit me, I grew up in a family that was upper middle class, that valued education, that had the wherewithal to pay for me to go to a good school, that, told me education was important. And I first got involved with the United Way and got a very first-hand look at how I learned what a food desert was. And as somebody back then, I didn't know what that term meant. And I realized that there was some real disadvantaged people in the country and areas that needed help. So I think it's upon all of us, that are given the opportunity to succeed, to then turn back around and help pull those up that didn't have the same opportunities as us, and not just attribute it to our own hard work, whether that be in the microcosm of your business unit or your department or the world itself. So when I say servant leadership, for me, it's serving on the board of Life Gift, which is the OPO that takes care of 1,200 transplants in the Houston area every year. We actually match the donors with the recipients in the operating room. So we're saving lives every single day. The Todd Crampets Foundation has me go out and speak to 20 high schools a year to deliver a very similar message that you saw there at the end. There's a lot of ways that you can turn around and serve. And I think that just serving, to me, in itself, volunteering, donating, whether it be any one of the 3 T's we call it, time, talent, or treasure, to me that's leadership in itself. Just doing that. You don't have to be the head of the committee or whatever, just volunteering is leadership in my mind. It's a good question.
And we have one more question. There's a microphone here, and I'll take this while you answer.
Hi.
Name and school?
My name is Brianna Alki. I'm representing Florida State University, and my question for you is, how did you determine what a smart risk was versus a risk that wasn't worth taking?
It's a moving target. Obviously, in the times that we live in now, what's a smart risk is not the same as a smart risk 2 years ago with the given political climate. So it's always a moving target, and I always use other people as a litmus test. And I have like people that I know on all ends of the spectrum, right? I know if I go to this person over here, they're going to give me the most conservative. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that joke at the beginning. They're not going to laugh. And I go over to this people. Nah, this room looks cool. This room, they're good. Don't worry. You're letting the whole university thing in your head too much. I literally, at the beginning, before giving the talk, was thinking, okay, this is the University of Houston, and I work for the University of Houston, and I'm an administrator. I can't say that word that begins with P. I can't do that. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. These aren't all University of Houston employees. I'm good. So, you know, it's a moving target, but I use family members. Bosses usually aren't the best if you're in comedy. They're always going to go, you know, because they get all of the sting and none of the honey. You know, the bit goes over great and huge laughs. You're the superstar. If we get complaints, they're taking the sting. So it's so much of it is gut and the nuance of how you do it, I think, you know, and a lot of times I would try to make Clutch the joke. So the end of that violent skit where the boys, you know, go at it, I bring them together, they stop when it ends, and Clutch makes the decision that they're both, it's a tie, and then they both, with their outside hands, punch Clutch in the groin. And Clutch falls over, and then they run off holding hands, telling the crowd, those guys are brothers and they love each other, and the idiot mascot just got the short end of the stick. So a lot of it's the nuance of how you do it. It's not just black and white, you know.
So Robert will be at that